Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're truly a worldwide platform. Today on The Wise Ones, I have a guest we've had recently on the Corner Bookstore, an author, Canadian, magnificent background in a lot of different areas. I'm really looking forward to talking with him today because so much information he shared with us last time. But The Wise Ones is a show where we get a chance to look into business leaders, authors, just all sorts of people, but they've been around a while. They have a lot of knowledge. They have wisdom that they're willing to share to help us in our day-to-day life. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce James Bowe to The Wise Ones. He's an author of many books, young adult fantasy, numerous short stories. He's a consulting writer and editor. A lot of different hats he wears. So with that being said, James, please join us.
Hi there. Good to be back.
Good to see you again.
Yes, I hope it's not too... I'm in Canada right now, and it's gotten really cold, and it's really windy today. So it's actually, I'm out my wife's writing shed in the backyard. I'm hearing things bang against the walls. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm down here in Houston, and we might make 70 today. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
One of the things I didn't talk to you about last time was being a consulting writer and editor.
Yes.
And as a author and a business owner, because you have so many things out there, we're going to get into that down the road. Tell us a little bit about what you do with regard to a consulting writer and editor.
Well, consulting writer, I sort of stole that term from, if you remember the British BBC series Sherlock. Sherlock Holmes called himself a consulting detective as opposed to a private detective. And so I was sort of offering myself as a freelance writer, offering my writing services to anybody who needed it. For example, I was working extensively with a real estate developer or a real estate broker who specialized in buying and selling apartments. And I handled a lot of his reporting strategy, his advertising strategy. So I made myself available for press releases and for writing reports and anything they needed to put words together. I also did work for what they call the education packagers, where they need a set of books that fit the curriculum for a library that are of interest to kids of a certain grade range. They put the subjects together and they ask they get writers to say, okay, they get writers to write on these subjects. They say, okay, you have 32 pages to talk about natural disasters, and you have 1 month to do this, so go. And that was a fun and fulfilling way to help pay the bills.
But you, as a consulting writer, are not a ghost writer.
No, well, if they ask me to be, then I am. But I mean, when you're doing things like press releases, or if you're doing things like if you're writing a report, your name's not splashed on it, especially if you're taking somebody else's expertise and putting it out in a format that attracts attention. it's not about you, it's about the organization or the company that's putting this information out. So a lot of my work was anonymous, or but it was still my work, and I was still able to be quite pleased about it.
Okay.
The education packages were really nice in that I was able to put my name on it. And one thing that we have in Canada that's really good is called the Public Lending Rights program, where they have money set aside for authors whose books are in the library. And so the idea is if your books are being loaned out in the library, every year you get a check for a certain amount based on how many books you have in the library system. And that was a nice little thing nice little nest egg to have as I expanded on my nonfiction for kids.
As an editor, what do you specialize in?
Well, I'm available for I'm available for all subjects, really. I just there's really two types of editing. There's the editing for nonfiction. There's the editing for fiction. With the editing for fiction, you're assessing not only the words on the page, but also the way the story is building. You're assessing things like plot, characters, and their story, and you have to offer up constructive critiques of what is working and what isn't, and so on. And that's a challenging and an intimate sort of work to be done. But if you're editing for somebody else's press release, that's a lot quicker, because you're assessing strictly. It's like they have something they need to say. Are they saying it? And making changes that way.
Okay, so I look at it from a fiction perspective as a developmental editor, where you're looking at character, plot, location, time, all those kinds of things, versus a copy or line editor that's really more for punctuation, diction, syntax, grammar, spelling, that kind of stuff. So what you're saying is you cover both ends of the spectrum.
Yes, I haven't had need to do that recently, since I've been working a lot more with my full-time employer, the Charitable Land Trust, where I'm a communications officer. So I've been spending a lot of time there, producing and then vetting press releases, or editing their biannual newsletter. So that's a lot of creative work that I'm pleased to put together and put out, and that helps pay more of the bills.
On your website, on the first page, there's a quote there at the top that you attribute to Ben Berman, Gone. It says, "If he can do it, why can't I do it?" Why is that there? Tell us a little bit about
Well,
the background.
that's a post I just posted. With the Sunrunners out in 2024, I'm interested in making sure it's like my baby. I want it to do well in the world. I want it to get attention. And I noticed my friend Ben Berman, who also does this sort of thing. He edited some of my work. He has also got a new novel out, and he's put out a awards eligibility post. It's like, submit it for your consideration. And I chuckled at that, because I always thought this was something the studios did for the Oscars, not for books. But sometimes you have to toot your own horn, and so I thought I'll do the same. So I've listed the stories and novels. One novel that I have technically eligible for a number of the book awards that are coming out in the next few months.
Well, I noticed on your website there, on that same page, first page, is that you give credit to a lot of other authors, or they say, "Hey, here's some of my favorite," and you list a dozen or more and links to them. Something that most authors don't do. Is that part of your business strategy?
Well, I think it's just a nice thing to do, really. but I also think it is helpful in the long term. We are in fiction, especially, we are a writing community, and this is also true in freelance writing. We are a writing community, and we are better when we help each other with finding leads and and making ourselves available, making contacts with other writers and with other agencies that ask for our writing. I mean, there's some of the things that are available that may not be to your taste or to your skill set, but you may know somebody, so you mention it to them, and that comes back to you in the future when they can see something that's not for them but might be for you. And so I think it's good to be generous and to I think it's really good to be generous and to make your connections and support each other as a writing community, as an industry. The other thing to think about is I was listing off my short stories for the companion anthology to the Sunrunners, Tales from the Silence, where I brought in 10 other authors to write short stories set in the same universe. And so it didn't feel right to list my own short stories in that anthology as being submitted for your approval, eligible for the next awards, when they contributed so much to the depth, breadth, and quality of the Tales from the Silence anthology. And so I made sure that they got the credit that they deserved.
Another area we didn't go into last time, we touched on at the beginning, was the fact you've been writing blogs since early 2002.
Yes.
Just an amazing history of blog writing and stuff. But as I was looking at them and trying to get an idea of what direction do I want to go in today with regard to James, and I noticed in there you had about 8 or 9 years worth of Canadian politics blogs, and then you branched out into the world. And what is your fascination with politics and writing about it?
Well, I think with politics has a bad name in that people say, "Oh, let's keep politics out of it." But really, what politics is about is if you want your world or the world around you to be a certain way, then you've got to be political about it. You've got to get out there. You have to say, "This is what I believe should be, and let's talk about this. Let's make these things happen." So I'm a very political person. I have these strong opinions about what we should do in society, what society should do for us, what the role of government, that sort of thing. And as I got into blogging way back in 2002, it was just the incentive is there to sort of just talk about what you feel and how you think, because suddenly there is an audience there who is potentially interested in what you feel and how you think. And so I had a lot to say at the time about the politics of the day, and it sort of snowballed from there. And it's no accident that it branches out very quickly into American politics, because Canada might be a separate country, but the relationship with the United States is has been likened to a mouse sleeping next to an elephant. You are very, very aware when the elephant starts to move, because you don't want to be crushed or anything like that. So that was just a natural thing for when I was writing in the blog, and it's something I still tend to do on my social media a lot. The other thing to talk about back then, when the blogging was new and exciting, there were so many communities that sort of sprang up around various subjects, particularly politics. American politics, things sort of immediately boxed into communities of conservative bloggers, democratic bloggers, that sort of thing. In Canada, because of our smaller size, the political blogging was really one large community with various sub-communities of conservative, liberal, New Democrat, socialist, that sort of thing. And even though we were speaking very different politics at the time, we were speaking it to each other. So it was a lot less of an echo chamber back then for us. And indeed, as you got blogging groups like the blogging Tories or the blogging Liberals set up. One thing I decided to set up at the time was the Blogging Alliance of Nonpartisan Canadians, just to get people who were political or had political things to say, or just general things to say, but who were not politically aligned to any particular political party. And so that helped raise my profile within the Canadian political blogging community. And but things have changed. Blogging is a lot less common as it was back then because of social media, how social media has sort of taken over the audiences. And blogging has been really something that I've had to sort of consciously try and pull myself back to as some of these social media platforms have gotten more toxic.
You mentioned the communication between the mouse and the elephant.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of a book, actually I have it here, it's called The Ant and the Elephant by Vince Poscente.
Yeah.
And he likens the ant on the back of an elephant as your conscious brain, your conscious mind, and the elephant as your subconscious brain, which controls 95% of everything you do. And you have an ant trying to tell the subconscious mind to do this, and the subconscious mind is going to do what it does. And so it's kind of funny that you use those two particular, the mouse and the elephant, just immediately brought me back there. But as I think back, Clausewitz, he said war basically is a continuation of your politics and stuff. You're using military force instead of diplomacy. So in his book, the Art of War, the politics goes to a certain level, and then if you really cross over the line, now you have other things. It seems like we cross that line more times than we care to think about sometimes, because we don't allow the diplomacy aspect to get to its full conclusion. Anyway, your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think we have become a lot more polarized. I actually think there are some interests out there that are deliberately forcing that polarization, and I don't like where that's going. That's one reason why you may have noticed as you go through my blog that the political posts start to ease away a bit. Not completely. There are things that I talk about. But one of the frustrating things about is I've been blogging for 20 years. I've been saying certain political things for 20 years, and I'm still having to say them. I know I'm repeating myself. This might be the first time other people have heard these things, but I still feel there can be some frustration when you sometimes feel like you're banging your head against a wall and nothing is changing. But it's hard times today, I think. But I try to stay positive, and I try to. One reason I'm going back to the blog is to sort of make statements about what it is I believe in and why I believe in it. Because if with social media, with the quick form social media, you can get into these arguments and you go around in circles and you don't really explain yourself or change people's minds. Now, I know quite often you could lay out a whole bunch of evidence and put a whole bunch of words down explaining exactly why you think the way you do, and people will ignore that and not even take on your arguments. But it's still the good thing about having my own website and having this blog is to get my principles down and say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, and this is why. And if anybody has any questions, it's like they can go read it. I don't need to repeat myself.
let's jump into a friendlier context topic of your books and promoting them
Yes.
and stuff. So let's kind of cover a little bit about your author journey. You've been writing forever, very prolific, very exacting, very professional from the things that I read. I'm impressed with your skills there.
Thank you.
Obviously, as a consulting writer and editor, you have some talents there that a lot of others have not developed at the same level. But when you decided that you wanted to start writing books, and I'm sure there's probably a profit margin somewhere in the back of your mind. I've written these, I've written this, but how can I monetize this? That process that, okay, I'm going to write a book and publish it. When did that start?
Well, I was in my 30s, and I had been trying to make a career out of what I had been studying in high school and university, which was to be an urban planner, somebody who helps to design cities. It's something that I was passionate about, and that's what struck me as a real job, as opposed to what I was doing with writing, which was on the side. I was writing Doctor Who fan fiction and stuff like that. But that hadn't worked out, and I had sort of slipped into the tech industry to work on databases. I was doing administrative assistant work, and I realized that what I enjoyed doing was really the writing side of things. Anything that the things that I liked most about my job were the things where I was writing, and I decided that pushed me into wanting to change from writing fan fiction where you are exclusively within the universe of another intellectual property to writing stories set in my own universe. And that was the step that I took in my early 30s when I decided, okay, I'm going to try writing a book and seeing where I can go with this. And I wanted to write something that was reminded me of my enjoyment of Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time, and I tried that, and eventually it resulted in my first published novel, the Unwritten Girl, and and I just worked from there. I had a whole sort of series in mind for these characters that I had created, and I managed to do a whole trilogy with my first publisher, the Dundon Group. And it was less about the profit, because, to be honest, most writers in fiction don't have it's a big challenge to make a living out of their writing. But it was more about, this is something that I loved doing, and I wanted to see out there, and I wanted to be read, even if I wasn't making a lot of money with it. But it did get me into the industry, and it did give me the contacts that allowed me to join these education packagers, and allowed me to produce all these nonfiction books for kids in very short order, which did help to pay the bills. So I would say, I mean, in this case, it's all about the experiences that you build for yourself are useful, because you're expanding your knowledge, you're expanding your skills, and you are getting your name out there, and other people are hopefully noticing you, and that'll lead to more contacts and more opportunities down the line.
Okay, so what, young adult, fantasy, sci-fi,
Mhm.
future, that seems to be the passion that I'm seeing through your books.
Yeah.
What authors did you read, or what people did you talk to really kind of cement that's the direction I want to go in?
Well, when I started trying to publish my first novel, the Canadian writing community, especially in YA and in children's and kids literature, is very welcoming. There are professional organizations you can join, and they have in groups of authors that can do critique groups that will, we could read over and critique each other's writing, and and you make your connections that way, and you find your opportunities that way. And that's exactly how I got published my first novel. I had a manuscript, I had a draft, I was sending it out to publishers, and I mean, several authors will have stories about, oh, I was rejected dozens of times before I finally got published. I mean, famous authors, Madeleine L'Engle's Wrinkle in Time was rejected 12 times before it was finally published, and it eventually won the Newbery Award. But I was going through that process, and that's a wearing process, but I was in a critique group, and we were sharing each other's stuff, and the head of the critique group, when I confessed that I had been rejected again, said, I know an editor, and I think this would be right up his alley. Go submit to him. And she was right. He was really quite appreciative, and so my first book was published as a result of that connection through the community, the Kids Lit community up here in Canada.
Okay, so the mere fact that you were a member of a writing group, that kind of, you had the right connection at the right time, that took your career as a author from, okay, I have something I think is worth publishing. Yes, I definitely have something that's worth publishing.
That's something, and two, I have something that is published. So yeah.
And how long did it take you to write that first novel?
Well, that was one of the quickest I did. I had a first draft I had an idea that just sparked of a young woman who, well, the story is about a young woman who cannot finish the books that she reads because she gets so upset over the dark fates that happen to the characters. So she tends to, 3 out of 4 books that she reads, she gets to a certain part of the story, she ends up throwing the book across the room because it's, she hates it when bad things happen to the characters. But that frustrates the characters in those books, and so they decide they're going to get revenge. But since they can't get revenge on her because she's throwing the books away, they get revenge on her brother by kidnapping him. So she has to journey into the land of fiction and encounter all sorts of various literary tropes in order to rescue her brother. Sorry, I've lost track of the question here. You want to pull me back in?
But she wasn't reading the happily ever after one.
Well, even if you read a happily ever after book, you can get to parts there where all books have some sort of crisis, and the idea was in many cases she just couldn't get past the crisis.
Yeah, I asked you about how long it took you to write the first one.
Oh yeah, so that was the spark. How does that
compare with your more recent books?
Yeah, that was the spark, and it just took off. And I had a first draft done in about 6 months, but it still took me a couple of years going back and forth, trying to find the right publisher for it. But but it did manage to clear through reasonably quickly, like about a year to 18 months, and then the publishing process itself of editing and preparing the marketing, and then the release can take upwards of 2 years. So it was about 3 years between the initial idea and having the book on the shelf.
Okay.
And then after that, I mean, if you're doing a sequel, fortunately, I had like a couple of sequels already written for them, because suddenly things pick up. The publisher would like to have a sequel out within 2 years, that sort of thing. So you better be on the ball. And so the other 2 novels came out about a year after and 2 years after. So, yeah.
Okay, so you have your books; they're being published. Editing is still taking probably the most amount of time in between. Get that part conquered. When do you, as an author, start marketing a book you're writing?
Well, publishers are doing that has really changed in the past 20 years. It used to be publishers would tell you what to do, and and you would do it. There used to be things. It used to be a lot more like bookstore visits and traveling. That's not the case now. Back then, some publishers already saw the benefit of blogging and of social media, so there was an encouragement to get active in talking yourself up, making yourself available. Just speak up on social media. I already had a blog, and that was I was using it sometimes to talk about how I was doing my fiction, and that was something that was also helpful, though it was all very new at the time, so we didn't know what we were doing. Today, publishers quite often look at you before they even accept your novel to see what sort of social media presence you have. And the more you're out there, the more presence that you have, they're happier they are to take you on because they know that you can get yourself onto you can get yourself out there through your accounts, through your reposts and that sort of thing. Um, some authors do find this wearing because they are not themselves very either expert or extroverted in terms of social media. I'm okay with that, so I have less of an issue with that. But yeah, most current books, The Sunrunners and Tales from the Silence, these were accepted by the publisher back in October of 2023, and I made sure to go through the cycle of, hey, I've been accepted. This book is coming out in fall 2024, and I was the one who arranged launch parties at back of Phoenix Books in Toronto, and to promote those on my blog or on Facebook. So it's really like it's almost another full-time. I mean, if you're really committed to doing this, it's a full-time job in and of itself, of putting yourself out there, of letting people know who you are, what you're doing, and why they should care about you.
You mentioned that it's changed a little bit, the publishing's changed a little bit in the last couple decades. What is your personal criteria for selecting a publisher and or a publicist?
Well, I haven't had to select a publicist yet. I've been focused on selecting a publisher. Um, I look for if publishers that publish things that are similar to what I'm writing, because they have a certain a genre that they go for, and so you're just going to have more of a chance with them than somebody who's like not publishing what you're writing. With Shadowpaw Press, they had a very interesting approach. They have a traditional publishing arm and are punching well above their weight in terms of getting distributed by the Literary Press Group of Canada. That puts them into all of the bookstores across the country. I mean, if it's not on the shelves, the bookstores can at least order it, and it gets it out to Amazon and Apple Books and all the rest. But Shadowpaw Press is a boutique publisher that operates out of Regina, Saskatchewan. And the publisher also has a self-publishing wing called Endless Sky Books. So I submitted The Sunrunners to Shadowpaw, and they liked it a lot and were very clearly interested in taking it on traditionally but I had gotten that close before. So to try and seal the deal, I said, look, I also have a potential companion anthology called Tales from the Silence. If you're willing to take the risk in publishing The Sunrunners, I will produce Tales from the Silence. I'll get a bunch of other authors in to write stories set in the same universe, and I will contract you to publish this out through your self-publishing wing, and we'll use the two of them to help promote each other. And they I think they really clicked with that approach, and so we had a deal. And that's been what we've been doing. What we've been doing since.
How do people buy your books? And do you have any signings coming up or any appearances?
Well, no appearances yet. I may be at some conventions later on in 2025. The season's mostly over, but my books are available through better bookstores everywhere. If I'm not on the shelves, ask them for The Sunrunners by James Bow or Tales from the Silence by James Bow. I'm also available on Amazon, both physical books and EPUBs. And I'm available directly through the Shadowpaw Press website at shadowpawpress.com. And if you need more information, just go to bojamesbow.ca and you'll find everything you need to know about my books, not too far from the front page. And hopefully with easy links on how to order copies for yourself.
Okay, you mentioned the name of the publisher, Shadow what?
Shadowpaw Press.
Paw, P-A-W?
P-A-W. It's named after the guy's cat,
Okay.
Shadowpaw
Okay, so Shadowpaw,
Press.
S-H-A-W-S-H-A-D-O-W, Paw, P-A-W, .ca, right?
Actually, I think it's shadowpawpress.com.
Okay. And then while you're looking that up, your website is bojamesbow.ca. Okay, so the Shadowpaw is a .com website?
Yes, shadowpawpress.com is a .com website, and
your website is bojamesbow, B-O-W, James, B-O-W,
.ca. That's correct.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so very much, James. I really enjoyed our conversation. We took it to a different level this time than we did last time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Enjoy. I wish you a great Christmas season, Happy New Year, and best of luck next year with your new releases.
Thank you very much. All right. Talk to you later.
Take care, Senor. We'll catch you later. Okay, we're wrapping up the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Just got finished talking with James Bow today. Next show starts literally in about 20 minutes, and it's called Talking Heads. It's a show where I choose a topic, and most of the time over the last couple of years, it's been a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-week series on a particular topic. But I decided recently that maybe I just need to concentrate on a single topic, condense things down into a bite-size informational topic that can be digested fairly easily. Just I love to put a lot of information, and sometimes I get carried away. Well, I went back doing some research for something for today, and a couple of years ago I spoke at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. I talked about sunlight in your health. And there's so many things that most of the people, do not understand about how sunlight affects us. Yeah, we can get cancer from it. Yes, we get sunburn. But in reality, there's so many things that sunlight affects in our bodies that it's really and truly critical that we at least are aware of them. And that's my mantra for my Talking Head show, is awareness and education. So if nothing else, I'm making you aware or providing information for awareness. And in many cases, giving you something that you may be able to say, hey, doc, what about this? And be able to at least look at other options. So with that being said, join me in a few minutes for Talking Heads. I'll catch you next week on The Wise Ones. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at dianefloydboehm.com. Visit dianefloydboehm.com. That's dianefloydboehm.com.